All right, so the acceptance criteria for this week. So each list item component, so each item on the list, um, renders a checkbox with a semantic label. Checking off the item in the UI also updates the date last purchased and total purchases properties on the corresponding Firestore documents. So date last purchased and total purchases. The item should be shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. So after the item is checked off. Um, and then after 24 hours, the item unchecks itself. Um, so yeah, like I said, this was a fun one. So Rachel and I knew what we needed to do, which was find a way to record the date and time at the moment that the item was clicked and store that um, in the date last purchased property. The challenge we ran into was working with date objects in JavaScript is a little tricky. Um, the issue was that Firebase does things a little differently when it comes to um, storing date objects. So for example, um, JavaScript will show date property either in a human-friendly format, or it'll store it, or it'll show you the date in milliseconds. Um, but Firebase does things a little differently. So Firebase stores a date in a timestamp object, which has two properties, nanoseconds and seconds. So what we had to do is find a way to convert all of this into uh, a millisecond value that could be stored in Firebase. So what we ended up doing was over here. So we calculated the expiration date for the item by taking the seconds and the nanoseconds properties and doing a little math. So to convert that into milliseconds, basically we have to take the seconds multiplied by 1,000, then add that to the nanoseconds divided by 1 million, rounded down. And then this get time method will convert that into milliseconds. And then from there, we just add the 1 day in milliseconds, which is 24 hours, and that'll give us the expiration date. Um, so that took care of that. So now we have this first item here, bread, which is here. So right now, date last purchased is null, it's empty. And if we check it off, we'll see that it updates with the correct date and time. So something else we wanted to do was sync up we'll track the state of the UI. So track the state of the checkbox when it's checked or unchecked. And for that, what we ended up doing was, so in this handle change function, when we check off the item, we call the update item function that's in the Firebase config. And we pass the item as an argument, but also we created a brand new property called isChecked, which is a Boolean value. So that's pretty much synced up with the state value that's here. So it'll allow us to sync up the front end with the back end when it comes to the checkbox. So on the update item, we call the update doc function. And then we update the document itself with the new properties. So is checked has the value that's passed into the update item function when it's called. And then date last purchased, depending on whether the item's checked or not, it's going to record the date or it's going to be null. So Rachel and I wanted to handle the case where a user either wanted to uncheck an item manually, or well, yeah, if a user wanted to uncheck an item manually, either because they didn't want to purchase the item anymore, or they checked it off by mistake. So same thing with total purchases. We're checking if the item is checked. If it is, increment the total purchases by 1. Otherwise, the total purchases goes down by 1. What else? Okay, so the bug or the issue that Rachel and I noticed last night was that the item would stay checked after the 24 hours have passed. So, it was a lot of trial and error, but what we ended up doing was creating this little set timeout function. So in the event that the state for the check changes due to the item hitting the expiration date, we manually call the update item function again, but this time passing the isChecked value as false. And then that happens after a half a second delay, just for a smoother experience. And yeah, that solved that.
Can you show us in the console, kind of like manipulate the date so that we can see for like, for example, bread
Oh,
or
yeah.
sparkling water, how, if you go back a date, that check mark will
Yeah.
be removed?
So if we go back a day, the last purchased goes back to null, and is checked converts back to false.
Okay.
And if we go to the shopping list, it'll uncheck itself. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good job. This is a difficult ticket, I know.
Yeah.
That time difference from Firebase and how JavaScript parses it is difficult. So great job.
I just wanted to throw out that it's cool that you figured out the math to do like nanoseconds to milliseconds. But the Firebase timestamp object actually has a 2 millis method on it that would just return that straight up. So you wouldn't have to do any math. Just a heads up. I'll
Okay.
post the docs in Slack.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, no, totally. just to make your life a little easier in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, I almost mentioned that, and I was like, oh, they put so much. But
Yeah,
it's a good
it's
one
true.
to know. I think it actually comes in handy on another ticket, so it's a good one to know. I'm not sure if it's on this next one. I can't remember. All right, great job. Any questions from anyone else on the team as far as that issue goes? No?
I just want to say nice work. Dates are hard.
Yeah.
They've
found
always
that
been hard, and I think they always will be.
Oh, I also had another question on one of those. I was like, wow, they either tested it a ton, which impressive, but it said that the item had been purchased like 1,900 times or something like that. Is that, could you go back to the fire surfer? Is that manipulated like you typed it in, or?
No, that's accurate. We did a lot of testing, a lot of
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't like a loop or something
Yeah,
that had
no.
caused the number to inflate. That's a lot of testing. Good for you for accurate testing or for, lots of testing. Great job. All right, no other questions from anyone on that one? It's a good one to understand because then, the following tickets will be linked to that one a bit. So great job. And then we have the second issue. I don't know who's going to present it.
That'll be me. Hi.
Hi.
Let me share my screen. Which screen can y'all see? Because I don't have the normal border that I usually have.
We see the issue.
GitHub.
Mhm.
The GitHub issue?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then
the
if I
browser.
click here, can you see
Yep.
my
Yep. Mhm.
the
Let me share
code?
your
Okay,
screen.
cool. So we had issue 8, that was just adding a welcoming prompt to the list page if the list didn't have any items in it so that the user could add their first item. When we met up, we pretty much had the exact same idea for what we wanted to do, which was really easy and really awesome. So in our list component, everything is pretty much the same. How everything was rendered, though, we decided to change. If data.length is greater than 0 for our return part, it renders the search item that was there before, the input and everything. And it renders the list if there are items in the list. And then if there are items in the list, but they don't match any that are currently being searched, it renders the p tag that says there are no matching items. But so what we added was a label saying there are no items in this list. Please click this button to add your first item. And then we added the button that just says add items, and we used the link component from React Router DOM to link to the manage list page. And so this is the second part of the ternary operator that renders if data.length is not greater than 0. So if there are no items in the list, it'll show this prompt that'll link to a button taking you to manage a list. And I can show that in the browser. So first I'm just going to click on a list that has items in it, and everything works as described. But then if I go to a list that I know doesn't have any items in it, I have there are no items in this list, click the button to add your first items. And so here in the URL, I can see /list, so I'm on the list page, and I click the button, and then the URL says /manage list, and this is what our manage list page looks like. So that's pretty much it. Also, I know that we're gonna have a bit of a merge conflict, but I feel that since Arena and I mostly just changed things in the return portion of the component, adding that stuff will be fairly simple. It'll be all right. And then also I want to mention that Belinda left a comment of making the return statement more readable, adding a early return as opposed to the ternary operator. And Irina and I discussed we do want to implement that, so that will change before we do like the final push and merge.
Great job. I have kind of a question, but I'm not sure if Tim or Belinda might know about it. I know that with links and buttons, you have to be a little bit careful with accessibility. Tim, I see you nodding your head. Is that the way that it is? I mean, I know that it's the case, like you don't want to disguise a link as a button, but since the button is inside of the link, how does that work from a screen reader's perspective, Tim, if you
I'm actually not sure off the top of my head, but it does tingle my code senses, so to speak.
okay. All right, mine too, so we can maybe do some digging on that and see.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for what would be better? Because like in
I guess
using
does it need to be a button, I guess would be the question that I would have.
Well, so that was the thing, Irina and I both kind of imagined a button, because that's also like add items, like every, big red button. So, from like a user's perspective in that way, it made sense. But no, from a screen reader accessibility point of view, it's completely different.
Yeah, and I have to do a little bit of investigating. The way that it's wrapped, I'm not entirely sure. So I have to do a little bit of digging. I know that you definitely don't want to like disguise a link as a button or anything like that. Like that's the screen reader, the way that it reads it, it's confusing, but
Yeah. And you can style a link so that it looks like a button, so that it satisfies your like this is a button thing, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But like semantically it's not a button, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like that would probably be my approach, is to just style the link so that it like has a box around, that's like your visual, your UI, but it's not actually the HTML. I
Okay.
think that would probably
and there's
make the
some
most
docs
sense.
I have to search through them because I think we ran into something similar like that in the past. So I'll look for some docs and see if I can share those on there.
Okay. Because just having like the link with the two, that like screen readability, that's fine, right? Because then it'll just show that it's a link, or whatever the accessibility technology does, it'll say that this is a link to such and such page on the website. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the issue with a lot of it too is like a button a lot of time is like associated with like a form and like a submit action. And so there's just different behaviors with that. So the link, if it's not disguised and it's a link, then you're good.
Yeah,
But great job.
button is considered an action, like use it for actions basically. And I know like the action here is you're navigating, but that's what a link does, I guess, semantically. So yeah.
Okay.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
girl. Mhm. All right, any other questions from anyone? These are great demos. Really good job, guys.
Sweet. Belinda, do you want me to do the issues first, and so we can like leave the rest of the time for the retro? Does that
Yeah,
sound
that sounds good.
reasonable? All right.
I have a
let's
question, actually.
Yeah.
So what if we're working on an issue and there's a case where some kind of whatever functionality would be made a lot easier using some third-party library or tool? Would we be allowed?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like you can in PR you can make a case for it, and I have no problem with that.
Okay, cool.
Sweet. Yeah. All right. let's do some issues. Let me share my screen. All right, so we're moving on to issues 10 and 11 this week, which is exciting. I'll just read through these again. Maybe we can do a similar idea. I'm not sharing, am I? Am I sharing? Gosh, so confused. Now?
Yep.
All right. I've done this before, I swear. All right. Move the Zoom thing. All right, yeah, issues 10 and 11. I think, again, we'll just read through them, and then kind of like Christina did last week, if there's a group that feels like they have the time and space or don't have the time and space for the more difficult issue, we can, yeah, we can figure that out. But issue 10, as a user, I want to be alerted when I'm entering an empty item or an item that's already on my list. Summary: users shouldn't be able to add an empty item to their list or add the same item twice. If they try to do this, we need to show them an error message that explains the problem. This way, we'll prevent some clutter in their lists. The acceptance criteria for this is show an error message if the user tries to submit an empty item. Show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that is identical to an existing name. For instance, if the list contains apples and the user adds apples. Show an error message if the user tries to submit a new item that matches an existing name with punctuation and case normalized. For instance, if the list contains apples and the user tries to add apples with punctuation or various other things, yeah, that'll show the error message as well. And the user's original input is what's saved to the database. Notes: there are a couple of ways to approach this task. If you're not sure how to begin, ask your mentors for advice. Yeah, so this will be using kind of our own, this is like the validation system getting filled out here a little more. So yeah, let's jump to 11 real quick. Issue 11. As an item, I want my estimated next purchase date to be computed at the time my purchase is recorded in the database so the app can learn how often I buy different items. Summary: in order to advise users about when to purchase things, the app needs to be able to calculate that guess and store it in a future date. The calculate estimate function from the shopping list utils module will help us know how many days in the future a purchase should happen. In order to use calculate estimate, we need to know how many days have passed since the time the item was last purchased. When the user purchases an item, the item's date next purchase property is calculated using the calculate estimate function and saved to the Firestore database. Date next purchase is saved as a date, not a number. And a get days between function is exported from utils dates.js and imported into API/firebase.js. This function takes two JavaScript dates and returns the number of days that have passed between them. And some notes. Working with Firestore's dates, Firestore returns dates as a special object called the timestamp. You'll need to convert the timestamp to a JavaScript date in order to work with it and complete this feature. The timestamp object has a toDate method on it. See the Firestore docs. Calculating the time between JavaScript dates. Comparing and manipulating JavaScript dates is notoriously tricky. Here's a hint: all date objects have a getTime method that returns a representation of that date in milliseconds. And calculating the next purchase date. The shopping list utils module should already be installed in your project. This module exports calculate estimate. Calculate estimate accepts three arguments. They are previous estimate, which is a number, the last estimated purchase interval, days since last purchased, also a number, the number of days that have elapsed between the last purchase date and now. You'll need to figure out how to calculate this argument. And total purchases, which is the total purchases made of the item. Given this information, calculate estimate returns a whole number indicating the number of days until the user is likely to make their next purchase. So yeah, this is obviously the slightly bigger ticket. Does anyone have any questions, or does any group anyone like know they're going to be like not have a lot of time this week? How are people feeling? Otherwise, we could just do the project like the given automated pairings again. Is that cool? Sweet. Let's just automate it up. All right, so let's jump back to 10. Does anyone have any questions about this before I assign it? This will be, where is it, 10? So this will be Arena and Rachel. Any questions about this one?
No, thanks, Tim.
Sweet. All right, cool. And then, so that makes issue 11 will be Paige and Jose. Any questions about this from you guys?
Not right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll be better prepared for this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're going to be on the ball for sure. Especially now that you know about the methods on the timestamp object. Life's going to be a lot easier. Cool. Well, that's sweet.
Sorry.
So I.
Smoke alarm.
Oh no. Cool. Well, we can maybe wait for a second and see if Rachel's gonna be okay. It's funny because the same thing happened to the mentors, Belinda, Christina, and I when we were doing our like initial hangout meeting.
I'm back. Sorry. It keeps doing that to me. Did it today when I was about to hit the merge button, and I was like, "Is this a
Oh
sign?"
no, too stressful. Oh gosh. Oh man. All right, cool. Well, I think we can, if Belinda wants to take over, do some retros.
All right. Well, are you ready to retro? Excited. I'm gonna drop the project board in the Zoom chat. So just a reminder of why retros are important. They are an opportunity to, first of all, celebrate. We want as many opportunities as possible to celebrate that the work that we did and accomplishments over a given period of time. It's an opportunity to reflect on things that went well, things we learned, things we discovered, new ways of doing things, that kind of thing. And it's also a great opportunity to find areas where the team can work better together or find opportunities to make things a little bit easier next go around, that kind of stuff. So I love a good retro. That being said, you should see let me share my screen real quick. I'm gonna just go over this. Hopefully I'm sharing the right thing. Yes, you should see a retro board. Cool. So appreciations. Who made your day and how? We talk about what went well. Think about the moments that made you go, yeah, we nailed it. And what made that moment feel that way. And what could be improved. If you had a magic wand, what would you do? So I'm going to say, let's do, what do we have? We have exactly half an hour. Let's do 6 minutes on the clock. I'll keep an eye on it. And if you finish ahead of time, please make sure to try and do one in each column at least. If you finish ahead of time, you feel like you're done, you can give a little thumbs up on your Zoom window and stuff. But otherwise, I'll see you at 2:07 or 11:07. All right, how we doing? Folks need more time? I still see some typing.
It's hard to remember everything. I have to go back and look at them. This week is fresh.
It's true. I'm very like short-term memory on all this stuff right now. What happened last week? Feels like it was.
Right, does anyone need more time? Michelle, unmute? No? All right, well then let's go over this retro. I will share my screen. And as I was doing it, I realized I was forgetting to put my initials on stuff, so those will be the ones that are mine probably. Let's see. I think that's small. Make this a little bigger. There we go. All right, so let's start with appreciations, y'all. Want to start at the top and just read these out in the order that they appear?
So you want me to read mine out, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
So shout out to Jose. You just have a really calm demeanor and it makes working through difficult code really enjoyable. To Paige and Irina for making really good comments in our PR. To Irina for spotting our bug with our labels and making me realize that semantic labels can be dynamic. It seems obvious now, but like it's one of those cool things to learn. Belinda, your PR comment was so genuine and really made us think about the why. Christina, for your prompting posts and encouragement in the main chat. And to Christina and Tim for their knowledge on accessibility and making us think more about this in our code. And that next one, I was supposed to put in a different column. So let me try.
You can actually drag it over. You should
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to click and drag because I did the same earlier. I was like, oops.
Yeah, I think I have it in the other column already. Let me check.
I feel like I saw that one too.
I think it was in what could be improved on. Oh
This
no,
one?
maybe. No, maybe just drag it over there.
Let's see.
Do I have to do it maybe?
Nope, I did
Okay,
it.
cool. Yeah, perfect.
Sweet.
All right. That's me.
Thanks for going over those. Think, Marina, are you up? Is that where we are? Yes. Oops, sorry.
Oh, I'm supposed to be next, right?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Sorry
I
about
was
that.
scrolling to see where you.
Yeah, so let me just go through it. So first of all, thank you, Paige, for the awesome 1 hour product and content session. It was pretty cool. And yeah, the next one, I can just maybe tell mines. I can spot them. Sure. This appreciations and yeah. So the next one, I want to say thank you to Christina for suggestions on accessibility in our code. It's really very important, and I'm glad that I have a chance to read and learn more about this. I also want to say thank you for to Christina and Belinda for great career advice last week. It was really inspiring, and I really like the phrase that companies are looking for a perfect fit, not the person who has just a particular tech stack. I guess it's very important to understand that and just not to be that afraid of interviews. I also want to say thank you to the team for helping me with my issue with Firebase. It was a quick solution. And yeah, I probably have one more and or I don't. Yeah, so
Nope, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm making people dizzy. Let's scroll slowly. Thank you for going over those. Appreciate it. Paige, I think you might be up.
Yeah, to Irina, thank you. You always teach me things about React. Like whenever we're like, okay, here's this thing, we want to do it. You're always like, oh, okay, we'll use a ternary operator, or we'll use this link, or we'll use this something. So I always feel like I have to like go look up like, okay, how can I do this? But you clearly have a lot of like great knowledge with React, and you like have a really good toolbox where you can just reach like, oh, I can do this for that. And that's really cool. I hope I get to be like that one day too.
I love it. Oh, I
Christina,
guess I'm
say it.
next. Sorry. I appreciate all the conversations that have been going on in the PRs. There's just been a lot of really insightful feedback. I snoop from time to time a little bit on the comments, and I love to see the conversation going. So great job there.
I'll give Paige a shout out for asking really insightful questions, making sure we're on the same page and moving together. And oh, and I think this is also me, but I forgot to put my initials. Rachel for having the determination to solve any problem, no matter how complex it is. I'm really impressed with that. And Christina?
Yeah, I really appreciate the time and the effort that you all have been putting onto the project. It's not easy, to take the time to not just show up, but to do a good job and to do it with a good and positive attitude and, to excel at it. So I'm really proud of the effort that you're all putting in. Great job.
I'll plus one that as well. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to Belinda and Christina for just being great to work with and being so like helpful and on the ball. This has been like some of the busiest few months of my life, and so it's like I haven't had as much space as I thought I would for this whole process. But like having Belinda and Christina has like it's made it so so doable.
They is too.
Is that me? So yeah, shout out to Paige and Aruna for for being super communicative and bringing forth their questions and concerns. Yeah.
I can hop on the next one.
Um,
Well, for Jose, for giving clear and encouraging code reviews, complete with examples, helping ensure great results. Oops, sorry, Christina.
That's all right. I appreciate that Jose and Rachel went the extra mile on the Swiss ticket. I know that, there was the 2 millis method for Firebase, but I really appreciate, that you actually, I feel like you probably have learned a lot from it, and it's going to be a really big takeaway. So great job on going the extra mile on that ticket.
Thank you.
Oh, this is also me. Irina for giving supportive and thoughtful feedback, helping teammates be their best while also maintaining a healthy balance. Notice that, so thanks for doing that.
That's me. I want to shout out Rachel for answering all of my really long-winded and detailed questions in the PR. You really helped me understand like why things were happening, and like why things were the way they were and how it was all supposed to function. And that was really helpful. And like your messages were really detailed and clear, and it helped me really understand it a whole lot more. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Paige.
And I'll give a shout out to Tim and Christina for always being up to help out. I've still got some nerves I'm shaking off. It's been a little while since I've been deeply in code, and I've felt nothing but support and encouragement. So thanks, y'all. Not sure about this one.
I guess it was me. Yeah. Thank
Oh,
you,
okay.
Rachel. Yeah, for always quick responses, quick reviews on our PRs, as well as great screenshots from you. It's really helpful to see what's going on, what's supposed to be happening, and what changes have been made.
That's me. Also, Rachel, thank you for being awesome about fostering communication between our pair programming teams, which I think was really important this week also. So thank you for that. And the next one's also me. Tim, thank you so much for helping me with my personal project during office hours. I'll send it to you when it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Oh, I have one more here. Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Jose for coding with me and during our coding sessions when I was confused about filter method, for explaining me and also giving some insights about this method.
That's me. So this one kind of, I guess it's similar a little bit to the last one, but I appreciate how collaborative you all have been with each other, and just insightful.
Yeah, we got a few more in this column. Jose, good job.
Yeah, shout out to Rachel for being really talkative during pair programming, thinking out loud. Just yeah, thinking out loud, talking through her ideas. It makes for a good coding session. So thank you. Shout out to Aruna for always having accessibility in the back of her mind. I feel like more often than not, there's always some kind of small oversight when it comes to accessibility. Either something missing in the code or some kind of bug, and Aruna's always there to catch it. So thanks.
Next one's for me. Following what Tim and Belinda had said, I feel extremely supported by both of them. And I feel like everyone's created, not just the mentors, but all of you have created a really safe space where it's enjoyable to be a mentor and it's safe to be a mentor for the first time. So I appreciate it for all the support, and that goes for mentors and for you guys as well. So thank you.
Well, thanks for running through all those, y'all. My face literally hurts from smiling. It was so delightful to go through all of those. So thank you. Let's hop over to what went well. Let's talk about those moments of, yeah, we did it. You want to start with Rachel?
Yep. I just want to say to everyone, it was really great. We all got our PRs created on Monday. I know Jose and I kind of got freaked out a little bit with our issues, so we coded basically all day Monday and got it done. And yeah, it was really good. Everyone managed to do that too. Irina and Paige for managing for the merge conflict that's about to happen. But yeah, thanks for, like, I know we weren't too sure how to handle it, and Paige was like, we don't mind taking it on, and that was really cool. But it hasn't happened yet, so if you need help, just let us know. For Jose and I for practicing the demo and finding a bug midway, I think that shows that demo practice is good. To Jose for working through bugs and implementing fixes. Yeah, that's it.
That one's me. I mentioned this in the demo, but Irina and I both came to our pair programming session and we talked about like what we wanted it to be, and we had the same idea, and that just made everything go super smoothly, and we finished really quickly. It was a really good like 1 hour coding session. And that was really awesome.
awesome. Yeah, this has kind of been echoed before, but the conversation, the PRs has just been really good, and it's been really fun to follow.
I really loved our discussion last week. I think Belinda did an amazing job at leading that discussion for the modules, and you all came prepared with some excellent questions, excellent comments, and I really appreciate that. Those modules are helpful, and I know they're in a different format, with you guys having to do them asynchronously. So I really appreciated that discussion. It went really well. And I guess the next one is mine too. I apologize, my dog's barking. But you're all doing a wonderful job on your PRs and your demos. So I think that those have been going really, really well. I get giddy thinking about like even just the improvement from your first PR to now. And so those are going really, really well.
I'll give another shout out for the discussions in the PR. They've been really great. I think just really clear examples of collaboration, shared understanding, which is really awesome. So. Okay.
Yeah, shout out to Paige and Aruna for spotting our very first merge conflict. It's good that they spotted that ahead of time to allow us to plan ahead to how we're gonna deal with that. And yeah.
Oh, I'm next. Yeah, I want to say that Jose is really good with HTML and thinking about edge cases. I remember we were working on our issue and Jose started to think about lowercase letters that user can type or uppercase, and it's very important. Yeah, really good with HTML. I remember we started to work and Jose was all the time suggesting some good approaches that would give us less code, but more results. So yeah, and I have a next one. Yeah, it's always fun to debug code with Paige. Yeah, we have this vibe. I don't know how it happens, but it's all the time super, super interesting and easy. And thank you for that.
Yep. All right, let's hop over to what could be improved. I'll throw out that we only have 5 minutes left, so I want to get through as much of this as we can, and then anything remaining, I'll chat with the mentors to see best practice, but maybe we can have some discussion in Slack or something like that. So that being said, Rachel, you want to take it away?
Okay. I just noticed, so issue 9 explaining the user experience of the app a bit more to ensure we complete the issue properly. I think we did, but yeah. For myself, I just want to do a refresher on use effect. And then just today, as Tim was reading issue 11, I thought maybe some of those date notes could be put in issue 9. But I don't know, maybe it's also not good to have them there because you kind of figure it out yourself. And then I just put reviewing PRs quicker. And that wasn't supposed to be in that column, sorry guys. Yeah, I just put to Jose and I for getting through our first bit of code using dates, but that was in what went well.
That deserves all the shout outs.
That one's me. I just want to be better at live coding. Like shout out to Rachel, Jose you mentioned earlier, she's really good at like thinking out loud. I want to get better at that while coding with other people, maybe even with myself, talking to myself. But yeah, I'd like to work on that.
All right. So I think that you all have done an amazing job on getting your PRs done early. Like Rachel mentioned, I was really happy to see those come in so early in the week. A little area of improvement is I think that we can just remember, your work isn't fully done until the review happens. So if we can get those front loaded as well during the week, just because as issues do get harder, I've noticed, you know, that maybe you have to merge or finish the discussions really close to your demos, and it's kind of can be stressful for you. So I don't want you all to be stressed out with that process. To make sure that you allow ample time for getting those reviews done early, just anticipating that it's possible that you might, you know, have to make revisions or things like that. So just front load that little part a little bit more. But everybody's doing really great on getting the pairing done early and getting those PRs done early. So great job.
Yeah, connected to that, I was just saying that maybe getting to the review, especially the mentor review, just like a little bit sooner, so that there can be like some discussion of that feedback, without it feeling like it's a big rush to get merged. I don't know. I love talking about code, like small details in code forever. So it's like, obviously we don't need to discuss everything. But yeah, I think it's just a good learning opportunity if there's time for it.
I guess this is more for myself. I need to familiarize myself more with Firebase as a whole and its functions and methods. Yeah, I've been kind of learning as I go, but I can be better about, reading through the documentation on my own time.
So
Sorry.
What happened?
I said Firebase is its own beast. I was just kind of cut yourself some slack. It's its own beast.
That's very fair. So I wanted to give kind of a sorry I got to code review so late. I will admit that I had a bit of a freak out cold sweat moment because I had gotten, I'm gonna share way too much. We have a minute left. I got rejected for an interview for a job earlier in the week, and then I came to code reviews and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a failure. I'm not gonna be able to do any of this. And so I was dealing with some imposter syndrome. So let that get the best of me, but it impacted the team. And that is a lesson learned on kind of the impact of, okay, well, maybe I have to get through this thing because it's going to impact the team and their discussions. So I just wanted to share that.
There was some communication between teams this week because there was a bit of overlap. But I think we could continue to do that more based on how much overlap there is. I'm not sure there's that much this week between the dates and the items, but we'll see. If we see that there is, I would love for us to communicate with each other about like what we're doing in our code and how it's gonna relate to the other team's code and stuff like that.
I think that was it. Thank you so much, everyone, for going over that, for sharing, for bringing into this space honesty and transparency in that. Does anyone have anything that they want to share, shout out, questions before we wrap up for the day? All right.
Something very minor.
That's
Guys, merge conflicts happen all the time, and it's a great opportunity to learn something new. If you have time to group up and watch it happen together, that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
So true. That's a good idea. And yeah, if you need any help with those merge conflicts, feel free to drop a line in Slack. We'll be, around here and there over the weekend. But yeah, otherwise, everyone good?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sweet. I'll make those pair threads, and yeah, happy coding.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.